Voice acting. It's fun. It's exciting. It's exhilarating.
It's everything you've ever wanted.
It's confusing.
Yes, it is.
But let's go back to the first point. It's fun, and it's something that we do, and you do very well. This is Bruce Abbott, voice actor. And there are some things you can do right as a voice actor, and there are so many more things you can do wrong. Instead of concentrating on that long list of wrong, let's focus on the 10 things that you might be able to do right. Feel the Ad Love is a podcast produced by Radio Lounge, featuring conversations with the people in our industry who make advertising and marketing impactful and fun. Our stories take you behind the scenes on a variety of advertising platforms, where we explore current trends and topics. And just so you know, Radio Lounge is a destination for audio production services for broadcast, film, on-location audio experiences, and digital media. We also offer podcast training, podcast production and distribution through our new podcast studios, voice coaching, and the production of high-end voice talent demos. Bottom line, every day is a new adventure in sound. You can drop by for a virtual visit anytime at RadioLoungeUSA.com. And right now, let's join the conversation.
The biggest challenge that I think voice actors face is this idea, and it really is not just voice actors, it's freelancers, I think, as a whole, is becoming a commodity. This idea that, you know what, there's another guy right behind you to take your place.
And that's really important that you say that it's not specific to voice acting, because there are so many things that we do in life that you can become a commodity if you are lacking a few essentials.
Exactly. And so what I did is I have 10 thoughts here that may help you as a new voice actor, an intermediate voice actor, experienced voice actor, to help fight that.
It's important in this conversation, if you're listening, there will not be a test at the end, but your overall success in VO will be judged by whether you're listening or not. So shut up and listen.
So here we go. Yes. So 10 steps to avoid becoming a commodity as a voice actor. Number 1 is controlling your availability. We all want to make our clients happy. We all want to be available when our clients need us, but I have heard so many stories of middle of the night texts, early morning texts, late evening texts, getting requests from clients late in the evening. If you make yourself available at these really odd times, you set a precedent, and there's less respect.
I think you water down your capabilities as well. I mean, you want to do good for your clients. You want to do the very best.
Exactly.
And you want to accommodate them, but you've also got to set some boundaries.
Exactly.
Here, right?
And it's about setting boundaries. You want to have that open communication with them, during a 9 to 5 or whatever your business hours are. But if you take that and if you lower those boundaries, and boundaries is really a great word because it really does have a lot to do with boundaries. Really, all of these steps do. So that was probably my step number 1. Step number 2 is don't compromise on price. Everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants to, I would love to go into a Mercedes dealership and say, man, I love this $200,000 Mercedes, but I'm only going to pay you $50,000 for it.
Yeah, I want the price of a Kia in my Mercedes.
Exactly, and sometimes with voice actors, you get put into these positions where you are asked to reduce your rate. You're put in a situation where maybe you've had a client that you've been working with for a long time, and or even sometimes you get put into a situation where, hey, look. If you want this gig, you got to drop your rate.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is it forces the voice actor to put themselves in this decision-making process of, do I want to keep this gig or not? Mm-hmm. And that's a tough place to be.
I think many things too with that rate. A lot of folks are confused, very confused by, okay, what should be the rate? Well, if you look online or you go anywhere, you're going to find that there are a range of rates for any particular project. What has mucked up the system is the very, very low price, low budget opportunities out there that we won't even mention. But
it rhymes with Fiverr. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Well, there's all kind of them, freelancer and Upwork and a lot of these folks.
But the only thing is you've got people who really don't know, and you've got some real clients who are pretty savvy about that, and they go, you know what, dude, if he doesn't want this gig, I got somebody else that'll do it for
and
half the
that's
price.
the idea. What's to stop them from finding another person who's going to work for half of the price? And again, it's that setting boundaries. You have to be okay walking away from a project, or else you send them a signal that
Kind of
you
an egotistical
are
message,
you are a commodity.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to compete, you need to compete on quality, not price. And look, if your client wants to pay less, scope down the project maybe, or something.
Work with them.
But make it to where you're not doing the equal work for less pay.
I think another thing that comes into play with your point number 2 is the relational stuff. If you've got a great relationship established with a particular client where they can always count on you, they always know what they're going to get, they always do the right thing, they're going to go to bat for you on a project. They're going to go, okay, if I get this guy, I got to get this rate, and they're not going to try to drive that price down. And so believability in the connectivity with your client, I think, is important as well.
And sometimes that's hard to decide. I've had situations where I've had what I felt a client like that put me in that situation to reduce a price. And in the past, I had done that. And it was a decision that I had come later on to regret, because then it set a precedent. And so, which also kind of leads me into number 3, which is, and especially here in this, as we record this here during March 2020, we are right smack dab in the middle of quarantine, COVID, coronavirus.
As we record this in our secret bunker studios,
yes,
Road in Sugar Land.
Stop doing work for free. Auditions is something totally separate.
Sure,
we all have to do that as a voice actor, to get work. We get that. But beyond that, you really should not be working for free. I mean, it's especially easy for new voice talent to rationalize that, hey, you know what, man, I'll do this free work.
This is be good for my reel.
In exchange, that's exactly right. Hey, I get to put client X on my on my credit list.
No.
But you have value. Your voice has value. You have value for a project. Stop doing work for free. And then continuing on that with number 4 is volume discounts. Stop doing the volume discounts. And we're all guilty of doing that. Look, I get it, especially if you're new into voice acting. You look at something and say, wow, you know what?
Overall, I can make
for
a whole
30 minutes, and this will only take 30 minutes, and so I'll do it for X dollars, because X dollars an hour is, man, that's a killer hourly rate compared to what I used to do.
Sure.
Before I got into voice acting. The thing about the volume discounts, and it ties in with some of the things we were just talking about, is it's not going to happen once.
No.
It's going to happen over and over and over, and the expectation will be there, and the value that you bring gets degraded.
And here's another thing with the extension of that volume discount thing. The client comes to you and they say, okay, here's module 1. We're going to do 12 modules in this project, and you're going to get them all. It's a good thing. And you negotiate a rate. You negotiate a group discount rate. And what happens is after module 1, or maybe module 2, or maybe module 3, they go, the client's not going to do this anymore. So basically what you've done is you've discounted your rate on an anticipation of something you didn't get, and you've lost money twice. And that just absolutely sucks. So don't do that. You are valuable. You are good at what you do, and you are worth being paid for what you do.
So number 5, it's not just about the money. If you make it just about the money, you're not putting the necessary thought or feeling the love, as we like to call it around here, toward the client or the project. The flip side of that is the client will really only care about the project themselves. It lacks that relationship. If it's just about the money, you are replaceable. They can hire somebody else that can come in and do the same thing. Make this more about the value that you're providing. You're not just providing an audio file with spoken word in exchange for a payment. You are giving them this positive thing, this valuable thing, this thing that they will turn around and do something even greater and even bigger with that. You get that and you understand that and you have that passion for it. And yes, I understand it's hard to do a passion, to feel passionate about eggs on sale this week for $2.99. I get that.
Well, no, that is a pretty good price, though.
It gives you this idea of, if you could find it in the stores right now, it gives you the idea that you really are the best person for this, and it's not about the money.
That's important. It's not about the money. You talk about an actor taking a part. An actor probably will not get a gig that he or she has auditioned for that they don't fit. In other words, if you don't fit the part and you don't feel that passion for the project, then the project is not for you. But the good news is there's another one coming your way.
Know the usage. Know the usage. Cuts, versions, splits, whatever you want to call them.
And people will lie to you.
There is nothing worse than cutting a radio spot only to turn around and see your audio also used for television. That's money you're getting, you're
it's
losing
taken away
out
from
on.
you, yeah.
And if you allow that to happen,
right.
If you don't put up those boundaries, you force yourself into that idea of being a commodity. Now, a little sidebar in all of this stuff. Are these easy things to do?
Nope.
No, it really isn't. Sometimes it really takes a lot of guts to be able to stand up for this. The thing about setting boundaries, no matter what it is, whether it's in business or whatever, somebody's going to come up and butt up against those boundaries. It's not always going to be pretty. Do people like being butt up against boundaries? No, they don't. It can make things very uncomfortable, but you have to be willing to take the uncomfortable along with the fun and the excitement of being a voice actor.
It's just part of the VO business. It's part of any business, really. Things are always not going to be great, but frankly, if you are enjoying what you're doing and you believe in yourself and what you're doing, and you're good at what you're doing, all of those great things will come to you in the end. You just have to be smart along the journey.
These next few are actually more about being proactive. Stop letting clients waste your time. Be proactive and make sure that the script that you have is the final version. Mm-hmm. One of the age-old discussions in voice acting has to do with revisions, because you do want to be a little bit flexible, but you also don't want to be taken advantage of. And anybody who's done this for a long time, knows that there's always that little flip side.
We've been in sessions before where the client comes in with a quote-unquote final script, but then they brought somebody from the client side who thinks, well, maybe they should say it this way or say it differently. Or probably one of the worst things when folks come to a session is they bring a 30-second script in that's 40 seconds long, and they expect you to do something great with it.
In total transparency, I will totally tell you a situation that I was put in a few years back, which I wish I would have handled differently. I was on a directed phone session for a major insurance carrier. There was a group of people, the group grope, as we like to call it, were on the other line as I went through this, and it was a long project. It was I want to say about 17 pages. We got about 45 minutes into this session, probably about 75-80% of the way through the copy. And the senior VP, who was supposed to be really in the session from the start,
Showed up.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Demanded the session to start over.
Ah, yes. That's why you have an agent.
Now, there's an interesting thing right there is I do want to preface that a lot of these things don't necessarily happen with agents. This really addresses a lot of the work that's kind of outside of agents, especially non-union work.
Sure.
I mean, let's face it, we're really talking about non-union work where you're going out, you're hustling, you're killing it, you're dragging it back to the cave. These
sure,
are
your agent is a bodyguard.
Your agent becomes a bodyguard and stuff. But this really is for that group of work that's not necessarily runs through an agent. So in that particular situation that I was dumbfounded.
And how did you handle it? How did you talk about how you handle it?
I started over. Yep. I mean, I'll perfectly honest. Well,
that was the right thing to do.
It was. I didn't necessarily know what the right thing to do was at that time. Yeah. Since then, I thought of several things that I probably should have done. We probably should have continued on the project, and then I send the files, and then he can review that. But that may put me into another situation that one of these other things that we were talking about before. But again, you have to get into this mindset of making sure that you put a value on your time. Because when you don't put a value on your time, again, you shine that big neon sign that says commodity. Yeah, be flexible. I get it. You don't want to come off being a jerk and stuff, but you also want to know that, hey, look.
I'm going to share an example of a really pure professional that we did many, many years ago for a major bank. The guy's name is Richard Thomas, and he was an actor in the television show The Waltons. John Boy he was. And Richard, very nice person, very, very, very cool. And he came in there and he gave these folks an incredible amount of value for their thing. He would read the commercial absolutely perfectly. And then he would go back and go, you know what, I want to try this read a little bit different. I want to see if you like this one better. He'd go back and read it again and read it again. Now, the dude walked out of there with a 6-figure check from that particular session. But he gave that client, the bank, major value because he came prepared and he delivered all the way through. And I'm sure if the client would have said, Richard, let's do it one more time, he would have said, yeah, that's good. He brought value to the session.
But he was also not seen as a commodity.
No.
He was not seen as a commodity, and that's an important thing, that there was a respect for him as a professional. I also think that he probably could tell that, and therefore he was cool given that extra value.
Yeah, pure professional.
Going back to the original point, put a value on your time.
Yeah.
Don't let a client waste your time. Number 8, be proactive, keeping your client in the know on projects. Proactive communication, it's a two-way thing. If you want to really stand out as a voice actor, keep them in the know. Let them know where you're at on a project so they're not guessing. Hey, here's when I expect to finish. Here's an ETA. Yeah. If you have something that you can provide in the meantime, let's say if it is a long project, if you can give it to them in segments, it's about communication. And when you can communicate, you earn their trust. And the more you earn their trust, that trust is a big deal towards not becoming a commodity.
And that goes without saying with any aspect of your life, in a relationship, in a marriage, in a friendship or something. Communication is the number one priority. Honest, transparent, and plain, simple communication will make sure that you and the other party get to the same place at the same time with a smile on their face, and that's a great thing. What's your next one?
So number 9, we talked about money is not everything. Attaboys and pats on the back aren't going to put food on the table. So getting paid. Be consistent. Again, it has to do with boundaries. Make sure that you are holding your boundaries to your payment terms. Mm-hmm. If it's a net 30, on day 31, you're contacting them. It just shows that you're not providing wiggle room to be taken advantage of. You show that you are a business,
anything less than that. Yeah, anything less than that, I think you're showing them that this is a hobby, not a business, and you are not in the business of being in a hobby. Mm-hmm. The hobby does not put food on the table, pay your rent or your house note or your car note. But a business does. And I think it's a very good point. Be sure that, whether you have somebody do that for you, if you've got an accountant that takes care of that, or you do it yourself, that aspect of your business is just as important as everything else you do in the booth, behind the microphone, on the phone, getting new clients and everything. That's a very essential part of it. So make sure that when it does come time for payment, that you are on top of that, because what will happen is if you don't do that, you're not going to get paid. The longer that it goes, you're not going to get paid. And you've just done that for nothing. So don't put yourself there.
Number 10, stop being just a voice actor. Be a business. You are running a business. You need to be able to generate client leads and marketing and building the strong relationships and understanding things. Understand accounting. Understand what businesses and clients need. Demonstrate your value. Be proactive with communication like we were just talking about. Deliver what you promise. I had somebody tell me one time that if you as a voice actor are just not a flake, you are already in the top 25% of voice actors. Now,
True. Yeah.
I was kind of taken aback by that. I'm like, okay, that's saying a lot, and I think that's kind of out there. I'm like, wow, you're referring to a lot of people as a flake. What they are really trying to say is run your voice acting business as a business. If you're a company and reviews and client feedback, customer feedback, all of that stuff, you need to take those steps and position yourself really as a true business, not just a voice actor, because a voice actor can easily become a commodity. A business has a better chance of overcoming that.
If you're not in that category, find somebody else to help you do that in a better way. If you're not good at social media, find somebody to help you. If you're not good at doing the books, find somebody to help you in that regard. And if you're not a nice person, you will probably fail in the voiceover business.
Find somebody who's a nice person.
Find somebody who's a nice take your place. Right. No, that doesn't work either. But these are little things, 10 little things that you can do right now, today, to maybe take a turn in what you're trying to do, because voice acting is a great business. It's a lot of fun. Is it crowded? Yes. Is it hard? Yes, it is. So if you're not an entrepreneur, don't even attempt to go there. It's not going to work for you. You've got to work blood, sweat, and tears hard to get this thing to be a success. And these 10 little points, take them, write them down. I said there wasn't going to be a quiz, but I got to tell you something. If you don't memorize and take a look at these 10 points, you're making a big mistake as you move ahead in your voice business. And both Bruce and I wish you great things to come. If you're new to the business, work hard, be upbeat, be smart, and do what you can do to make it a success.
If you ever have any questions about voiceover, the business, anything like that, you can always reach out to us. Here at Radio Lounge, we've got, if you visit us, radioloungeusa.com, you can get our contact info. If you ever have any questions, you can find me. I'm pretty easy to find online, as well as Ray.
And if you just want to talk, come by. We've got a couple of great, big, comfy red leather couches as well here at Radio Lounge. Thanks for listening. Hey, thanks for listening to Feel the Ad Love. You can visit us anytime at radioloungeusa.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Your rating on iTunes will also help us grow. And don't be afraid to share what you've heard today on social media. Until next time, I'm Ray Schillens along with Bruce Abbott. Come to the lounge and feel the ad love. Copyright 2020.